all the HBCUs. This is the HBCU homecoming.
TSU.
Shout out to Texas Southern University.
Yeah.
The Tigers.
Tigers.
La Tigres. Shouts out to Southern University. Shouts out to Prairie View A&M University. All the HBCUs. Howard University. Everybody. FAMU. Everybody. If you came or you graduated from an HBCU, happy homecoming. That was for you. All right, ladies. We're almost at the close of the show, but Vivi, we were talking about the male perspective in your writing, and Booker T. Did you have any future plans to get more male perspective?
Yes,
Plays.
I'm thinking about writing a show about Rick James. So that's
I'm Rick James. I can't say it.
I know, right? I had the same thought.
that's on the horizon. Probably later in 2020, you'll be hearing me talking about Rick James a lot. And when I'm writing about someone, you notice on my Facebook page, I'll always put that person on there till the show is over, till I'm done with that character. So when you see Rick James, you know I'm thinking about Rick James.
Oh man, that's gonna be interesting. Tina Marie, I know Tina Marie's gonna be in there.
Most definitely. Can't have a show.
Fire.
I'll be his mom. No, Rick, I told you.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one, BB.
Yeah.
So I always have stories in my head there's so many stories that I want to write about. Marcus Garvey is a story that I want to write about.
Oh, wow, that would be beautiful.
So I just need time to write them, to sit down and write, because it takes a long time to write. It's a process because I don't write necessarily every day, but I try to give myself a deadline to finish the show.
Yeah. So writing, you started start the writing process. How do you do it? What's your process for doing the historical scripts?
It starts with the vision of the play, how I see the play being seen on stage. For instance, Eartha Kitt, I wanted to recreate her moment where she came on stage in her comeback in the musical Timbuktu. That's how I saw it. So I had to get a line to start off the show with power. So the first line that she said in Timbuktu was,
I am here.
Yes.
So that's
Thank
how the disappearance of Eartha Kitt starts, with her saying that. And it after she says, I am here, I start on my story of Eartha Kitt. So it depends. But I sleep with my laptop. I don't write longhand. I've never written longhand. I don't think I could write a show longhand. It's all on the computer. Everything has been. Most of the shows that I've written have been in my bed.
Well, you said you sleep with him, so
I do, yes, for sure.
Right with
be
them.
very convenient. So you have a lot of foreshadowing and flashbacks, this sort of nonlinear plot for a lot of your shows. That's
out of necessity a lot of times because of the black box setting of the theater. I like writing about. I like having a lot of characters in my show. I have 20 people in the show, and there's only room for 10 people in the dressing room. But I still because some the more characters you have, I think you can tell a more full story of the person, and you can't do that with two people. You can, but it's not as exciting or entertaining to
More
me.
in depth.
wow.
I agree.
Okay, come back, Eartha.
Yes.
If you had to have a conversation with comeback Eartha, she was able to be in your presence, what would you ask her? Or what advice would you seek?
I think I would say, darling, did you like the way I played you? How did I do? Thank you very much. But honestly, I just respect her. I don't go. The thing about it is, I don't think I try to emulate anyone, but that time you have to, because of who she is and stuff like that. So I would probably praise her. If I was around her, I'd be a big fan, rather than to ask her any life knowledge or anything like that, because her life was pretty plain and out there for us to see.
She was an open book.
She was.
And she was such a strong personality.
Was, really.
And you have to have somebody who captures that essence of Eartha Kitt, or any of the people that are so well known.
Yes.
I couldn't have a person that was 7 feet tall playing Eartha Kitt. That's an exaggeration, of course. You have to have a certain look at your voice has to, because people know how Eartha Kitt sounded. So you want that, and if it's too off, people are going to say somebody else could do it.
Right.
You know, why did he choose her? I know there are many people that can play that person besides that person. Luckily, I have 3 wonderful people who look, sound, move like Eartha Kitt.
That's
So
a wonderful thing for you to say, Vivi. Thank you.
You know what's so interesting about Eartha is, I study signs, and she was actually born the Chinese year of the cat.
really,
sure.
So,
wow, that's very interesting.
so she's like so it's like she was, and my sister's born. I have 2 sisters that's born cats, and a daughter, and they're like sleep a lot, and they have cat personalities, and
How ironic.
Isn't
She's
it?
Catwoman.
Really?
she literally was born in the Chinese year of the cat.
Maybe she.
And I'm just like, okay. So I'm watching my sisters and my daughter, and they're very cat-like. Even, they tend to capture people. The males in their lives, they just kind of, they capture them and then they're there, but they tend to have this Rocky with them, So, and you'll see, and I'll be studying her astrology and people that's in that, and that kind of helps me see. I'm like, okay, they're a little bit more. They're real, like conscious of the way they look,
Absolutely.
like very much to everywhere they go. Like they don't go to the mailbox without, they're never. And me, that's completely opposite, So I'm like, okay, go fix yourself up. You're gonna have to step up to that level of a class, or what they show, what you see is always entertaining.
So, even though these are 4 distinct Eartha Kitts, I mean they're all Eartha, but they're very distinct in their own right. 1968 Eartha, how is she different from Sex Kitten Eartha and
Like,
Comeback
did she
Eartha?
evolve?
Right. Was she steadily evolving into something or someone else?
Well, Sex Kitten Eartha was of course, she's the youth and the sensual Eartha Kitt, and when we're younger, we are, I think, a little bit more sensual and sensuous, and we have all of that in that those hormones raging in our body. So I think that's what was going on in her life during that time.
I think that's the opposite for me. I think I'm that way now.
Really?
Well, when you're younger, you have a lot more of that I don't care attitude, too. You take more chances in things,
And by 1968, she experienced a lot of things in Hollywood and on Broadway, and she was in a transitional period in her life. She had just turned 40 in 1968, so she was getting away from she couldn't play ingenue anymore. So she was becoming a more mature version of herself. Still sexy, of course, but she was more politically involved during that time because, of course, it was in the 60s, and most African Americans were heavily involved in the civil rights movement during that time. So she was more conscious of those things, I think, in 1968. By 1978, she was, I think, more jaded in her outlook because she had seen her career really had dried up, and she had to go abroad to succeed. So I think she was a little bit more jaded by the time she made her comeback.
So, if you had to have a conversation with 1968 Eartha Pasha, which you will be playing her, what would you say to her?
I think I would just be in admiration. I feel like she was so disciplined. To like she was almost proving a point to the world. It's just like, and I'm just in awe of that discipline. Like how were you able to find time to do that? How did you learn all these languages? Like how, just like the intellectual side of her was like genius. And I would just want to just hear her speak, and just like, can we write a song together?
Girl, shut up.
And another, when I was young, I always wanted to sing. I know like one other language, but she knew so many more languages, and you're just like, it's just like she went out with a vengeance in life, and just she had to have used up every piece of her time. But when you saw her, it was flawless. But in order to have that much intelligence, she had to have been like greatly studied. Yes.
I loved her sassiness. She actually had grit. She could stand up to anybody.
And did.
Yes.
Yeah. As petite as she was, I love that about her.
Firecracker.
Yeah,
Small
absolutely.
Vivi, what Eartha would you, or which time period Eartha would you have a conversation with, and what would you ask her?
I think I would like the sex kitten Eartha. That's my favorite one. And you played Stacey Bone early as you began the show. I've listened to that song 100 times back to back to back. Just to hear her voice and how her phrasing of each song. So I would say, I would ask her, how did you maintain your sexiness throughout your career? That's what I would ask her. And because as we remember her, the later audiences will remember her from Boomerang.
Right.
And she was still,
flexible.
yes.
Yeah.
And still the body was, the legs and everything was still intact.
Right.
And she maintained that air of sexiness about her. So that's what how did she maintain that in her later senior years?
That's a good question.
I think she said in the movie Boomerang, it was beet juice that keeps the skin tight.
Beet juice.
Beet juice.
Everything I hate.
I drank some of that today. I juice.
Beet juice is absolutely terrible.
You know what? I love it raw. I've learned to love it because it actually cured me of my fibroids. Like
Really?
it's when your
raw
body
beets.
feels bad, I'll go in the store. It'll gravitate towards beets or red bell pepper, and it heals me. Like that's my secret weapon. But I didn't even know she said that. So the fact that you're
Wow.
saying that blows me away.
In Boomerang, she absolutely said it.
Wow.
Beet juice keeps the skin tight, and none of us are getting any younger. Well, you guys, I am so happy. I'm excited to have. I'm just honored to have all of you guys here. It has definitely been a pleasure. It always is a pleasure speaking with Vivi, getting into Vivi's mind, genius. And
So we got to tell people when the show is coming up.
I was getting to
Okay.
of course I am. I'm not going to forget that.
Baby.
Which was one of her. That's my
That's favorite.
One of the hits, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah.
My favorite.
And we are going to sample a little bit of that in the show.
How nice.
Oh.
That's the
Okay.
change.
So as Vivi thought I forgot. Vivi, could you tell us when the shows are?
Most definitely.
Well, start off with the audition.
Sure, the auditions are tomorrow from 1 to 5 at Midtown Art Center in Houston, Texas, 3414 La Branch. So if you're in Houston and you want to audition, that they're being held tomorrow. I'm also auditioning for my next show in February, Dreamgirl Deferred, about Florence Ballard. Now, the show, The Disappearance of Eartha Kitt, it runs December 6th through the 15th at Midtown Art Center in Houston, Texas. And you can inquire about information about the show at VincentVictoriaPresents.com.
Yeah.
Nice. A collective. Well, Trisha, thank you for
Thank
coming
you, my
in.
darling. It's so good to see you.
The lovely Eartha and the other lovely Eartha, Pasha, Angel. Thank you for joining these ladies. You have to come check it out. Check out the show. Vivi's productions. You definitely are getting your money's worth. It is a historical time traveling experience, a learning experience. So make sure you come and check out the show. And again, what's that website, Vivi?
It's VincentVictoriaPresents.com, and we recreate historical moments on stage.
Yes.
Yes.
Alrighty. And thank you, listeners, international listeners, statewide listeners. Thank you guys for tuning into the Jas Chronicles. And a definite quick shout out to my parents. I love you dearly, Mommy, Daddy. And good luck to my niece who has a volleyball game this weekend in college. And to all the HBCUs, be safe out there.
Yes.
And a definite shout out to the Most High God. Thank you for everything. You have been listening to the Jas Chronicles here at the Blue Sky Radio. And until next Friday, peace, love, and soul.
Thanks for having us.